You boom!
Oh my gosh, way to rub it in. I don't even know what it is.
You want it. How's your daughter?
She's good.
How old is she?
5. How old is she now?
How old is she? And I did just see Marriage Story, and it is phenomenal. And I'll be shocked if you're not showered with awards. But what made you wanna tell that story? I mean, it's heavy, it's dark.
Yeah, you know, probably 10 years ago, Noah and I tried to work on something else together that we kind of developed for a little bit and then just didn't end up kind of being right. And by the time it was ready to shoot it, I was kind of past it, and it wasn't the right fit.
This project?
No, this was a different project.
Oh, it was another one.
It was another project that Noah had never. I don't think he ended up actually making it, and I actually thought that he would never call me again. I don't know. I'm sure you probably have had that experience before, where you feel like you kind of, you know, like maybe something didn't work out professionally, and you're like, well, there goes that relationship, and
No,
that's never happened to you. Yeah,
No.
right. And so I was so surprised when he called me 10 years later, 15 years later, to meet and talk about something. I just thought, you know, it was totally came out of the blue. And I met with him in a place in New York, and it was like no time had passed at all. And it was, we just kind of shifted right into this moment where, you know, he pitched me this story a little bit. And I myself was actually in the middle of going through a divorce, and it was such a strange coincidence, actually. But more than it being that it was about a divorce and I was going through it and felt that was something that I should explore, I felt it was like the right time for Noah and I to work together on something. And this project felt like it was something that he wanted to collaborate on. And you almost kind of got the impression that he needed to cast it before he actually wrote it. And that to me was exciting. It was like, I felt that he was writing for me, and it was so different than the experience that I had with him like a decade earlier. And so that's how
So how much of the script was already on the page prior to signing on?
It was not on the page at all.
It was just a concept.
It was a concept.
Wow.
And I think he maybe had started. It was totally like an outline, I think.
Did you have input in terms of how? Because one of the things that I think is so tragic about it is that it's, you know, I think when you think of a divorce story, you imagine much more of a contentious, prickly, almost enemies. But a lot of the movie, there's two people trying to make it work. There's still like an amicable, you know, you're trying to make it work for your kids. So was that part of? Did you have input in that? Because I'm assuming even in your experiences, that it hasn't been like, oh, I hate this person. There's still a lot of love for the person.
Yeah, I think it was sort of, you know, it was Noah's intention to make. He was the one. Actually, when I received the script, I was so. We'd spoken so much about not just our relationships and what it was like to be, you know, single parents, or how it was to co-parent. But we also talked a lot about our parents and our families, and you know, all of that stuff kind of made it in there. And when I got the script, I was so surprised by how much love remained between those two people, and that there was kind of this. It was a love story told through divorce and as a relationship kind of. Noah often says that, like, you know, in order to fully understand something, you kind of have to, like, pull it all apart and sort of start. The idea of starting from, like, the end and, like, building the story kind of back up was really interesting to him. And, you know, I think it just, it really, I think that's why the film has seemingly affected so many audience members, is that it is not, it's not one thing or another. It's kind of multi-faceted, and like relationships are just complicated, and there's, you can not want to be with somebody but still find them attractive in other ways, and you know, it's complicated, right?
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, and, you know, I don't know. It was exciting to work on it.
Where do you want to live now, doll?
Well, I'm here now, obviously. I don't know if the show will get picked up, but it feels like home. It is home. It's the only home I've ever known without Charlie.
I think you probably feel this way too, and I know, you know, even when we were doing all the Endgame and Infinity War stuff, were you were prepping to do Knives Out already or not?
Yeah. Well, we were doing the reshoots for those last couple bits. I don't know if you were there. You were so in and out because you died. but I think, yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. If you
If
haven't,
you haven't
seen
seen
it,
the movie, too bad.
she didn't make it. Yeah, it was towards the end of filming that Ryan reached out and sent the script for Knives Out, and I love those movies.
Because it must have been so exciting also. Well, I was thinking because I was doing kind of talking to Noah while we were doing the Infinity War and Endgame stuff, and it was such something for me to kind of hold on to during those often sort of just tedious days of,
Sure.
you know, whatever, like all that action storytelling that we have to do where you know, have to be like in it for these little like segments of time. I mean,
Well, there's a lot of things about those movies where it's not just the actual filmmaking process is very, you know, start, stop with little bits and pieces because of the action, the nature of the movie, plus it's roles that we've played for a really long time, so we're really familiar with it. So it is exciting. No disrespect to those movies. I love those movies, but to come off of them and have a completely different approach to finding a character, to collaborating with other artists, and ultimately, you know, just it's uncharted waters, you know, coming off of a Marvel movie. It's just exciting to get a change of pace.
how does it work with Ryan? How is he on set?
He's wonderful in a lot of ways, and it forces you. I mean, he's very much a plain speaker. He knows what he wants. I love the idea of writer-director combos because you immediately you remove that kind of you know, when a bunch of people read one piece of material, we all have subjective opinions on what we interpret. And when you have a writer-director, they can say, no, this is exactly what I meant. So that eliminates one question right there. But Ryan just has a very, he's very taciturn. He's very unapologetic. You know, 2 takes and you're done.
Really?
Yeah, which as an actor, you're terrified because if you give me 50 takes, I'll take them.
Why? What do you think about that though? Do you ask for more?
I'd always like more, but
How come you don't ask for more?
it takes me a couple days to get comfortable on set to do that. You know what I mean?
Why? Because you feel like
Because if you ask for more and then they don't get better, it's going to be harder to ask for more in the future. Because you know,
really.
if you can't prove that this is going to improve, then you're just wasting time. So
That's such a funny way of looking at it.
yeah, it's a really insecure, egoic way of looking at it.
Do you look at the monitor? Like, do you watch your takes and stuff?
If other people are going to, I will, but I don't want to be the only one doing it.
Why?
Because it's intimidating to watch yourself on playback. But Ryan will tell you, you know, when we move on because we got what we needed. You know what I mean? You trust Ryan. If he says we're moving on, we're moving on.
Stop! Hugh Drysdale?
Call me Ransom, it's my middle name. Only the help calls me Hugh.
Okay. This is Trooper Wagner. I'm Lieutenant Elliott. Just want to ask a few questions.